guys, Ovilee with ESPN Esports, and I am here with the victorious G2 support, Wadid. Today I am joined by Cloud9's AD carry. Sneaky, is that you?
3, 2, 1.
State Farm Analyst Desk, let's go!
So good. It's still in my head.
I lost it. I don't know where it went.
It disappeared. Ovilee, everybody. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being on the show.
No, thanks for inviting me. I'm super excited.
Yeah. I mean, it's great because I've got to see you like Riot, I think? You were working at Yahoo Esports.
I was.
Yeah.
It was Travis.
Back in the day.
Yeah, he let me be his assistant. And
that
then
was
I'm
so
like,
cool.
Sweet, I'm going to learn things. And then in week 2, he's like, okay, now go do an interview at LCS. And I'm like, wait a second, no.
I'm not prepared.
I'm not qualified.
Holy cow. So that's really interesting to me because I do want to get to know like how you got started doing this because I read somewhere and I did a bit of research.
Oh, God.
That you first started as a social media manager?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, Kyle's trajectory is the
Fist
same.
bump you.
Yeah, they're same background, I guess.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So for me, it was, I found out what esports was in high school and then just decided, okay, this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life.
Truly, just like out of the blue?
It
or
was
something that inspired you?
It was, I went to the season 2 world, I can't remember if it was play-ins or groups.
Okay.
In LA and like the Nokia Live Plaza and everything.
Yeah.
This is like, I think it was, season 2. I was in high school. I was 16 years old. I showed up by myself and everyone was like super nice to me and everyone was cheering them on. I only knew TSM. Like I was like the one, the TSM fan going like TSM in the crowd. But everyone was just so cool and I'm like, this is amazing. I love League of Legends. I now love esports and I love the community. So I just have to find, some way to get into it and make this my life.
And you did it.
Yeah, and I was able to do it.
That's incredible. Because, I mean, it's also so cool that you were so young and at that time, you're kind of like developing, like finding who your people are. Mm-hmm. You found it like really young. Yeah. And you just have been crushing it ever since. Like, just got in, and that was like, that's your thing. Like, you are literally doing what you said you would.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
I was, esports I found in high school, but since I was
What was your go-to? Like, what was your foray into that?
Itty bitty. My uncle had a Nintendo 64 at my grandparents' place.
Yeah. Classic.
And I remember being like, I was itty bitty. Like I knew how to work a mouse and keyboard before I could properly say my ABCs.
That's amazing.
I would just
Not a lot of people can say that.
I know, because it was I played Sesame Street, and it was just like my mom has a picture of me like sprawled out over her desk, and then just me like trying to hold the mouse like.
Have you posted this on social media?
I have to go dig for the picture, but I think I have it. I need to.
It'll give you like huge gamer cred. Yeah, promise chat, everybody.
Promise you, chat.
I'm just, I'm letting you guys know in chat as well before we get deeper into these questions. If you guys have any questions, feel free to send them our way in chat because we are here for an interview with you for like, I think it's like your first time being interviewed. Is it?
It's like,
no, because you were interviewed
Travis.
But Travis.
Travis is Travis.
When he introed you, that was so cool.
Yeah.
So then, first game, those were the Nintendo 64 games. Mm-hmm. Was there one that like hooked you that's particularly big right now in esports?
I mean, it was League of Legends.
Yeah.
It was just the first time I played League of Legends, I remember dying in the jungle because I didn't understand the concept of it.
Right.
And then
it is hard to grasp. I mean, I've tried Dota too. Mm-hmm. Like that was my first foray into those types of games. And then League of Legends a little bit. Kyle tried to train me a little bit. Kyle's here also, by the way. Just thought I should mention. He's gonna butt in every now and then.
I'm not sure. Oh, I'm in the Phantom Zone camera.
You're in the Phantom Zone.
Because it looks like that one got moved a bit, so my seat isn't too good. So maybe if I like.
No, it's great. That's perfect. The camera will just follow you. The zone is, you are the zone, so the zone will follow you.
How do I look on camera? Wait.
Well, now it's just to the one channel, but it's perfect.
This is perfect.
It works.
That's cool. Wait.
It works.
Here.
Yeah, so it is hard to get, but you got in at a young age. Mm-hmm. So you were, I mean, that's the perfect time to do it.
Yeah.
Because otherwise it's really hard to pick up from my age, which is a lot older.
No. That's how I felt about Fortnite. Because one, I've always been like, I played a lot of Modern Warfare 2 in middle school on the Xbox 360 with all of my middle school friends.
Yeah.
So I was like, sick, I'm awesome at FPSs. Like, this is super easy, prestige, all that stuff. And then I moved into CSGO and I'm like, oh God.
Wake up call.
Oh, I have no idea what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So with Fortnite, it was a little bit more forgiving. And then I'm like, okay, maybe, I killed someone. Maybe now my 8-year-old cousin will be proud of me. No, that's when I feel old. I'm like, oh God, Fortnite.
You're like, I'll never get good at this
Yeah,
game. They are so far past, you know, like the skill cap is
The
up
building.
there, and I'm like right here.
I don't
there.
like it because I get built into a box and then just executed. I'm like, that wasn't fun.
Yeah, I know.
That's not a good time for me.
Spike traps.
Yeah,
I'm sure
exactly.
there's like so much stuff about Fortnite that's just, it's hard. It's really hard to compete with the little kids who have just been playing, or who are playing like hundreds of thousands of hours.
Oh my gosh.
Hundreds of thousands of hours, Jesus.
14 million.
14 million hours in Fortnite.
I mean, to be fair, like, when we were younger, I mean, all I was doing was playing Korean MMOs.
Oh yeah.
So not exactly.
Which ones? Can you name a few?
Mabinogi.
Okay, I don't even
Mabinogi
know,
was
but
my
yeah, that sounds
game.
amazing. Does
was-
anyone in chat know what that game is?
No one knows. Okay,
Probably.
like my MMOs growing up, I wasn't allowed to play WoW because that was like, you know, the most popular one. So that's the one that people said in the news.
Yeah, beware. You
Yeah,
won't get hooked.
so-
You'll lose your life. You won't have a life.
Yeah, so my mom didn't let me play that, but I was allowed to play, you know, RuneScape, Star Wars Galaxies, Maple Story, Mabinogi.
Right.
Those are my babies.
Those are great. Did you ever play Star Wars Phantom Menace?
I did not.
Okay.
Galaxies
that was
like my.
Galaxies.
Galaxies was a great game. though. Yeah, that game, the profession system was crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, the whole bounty hunting, becoming a Jedi, all of that stuff. And player housing, I wish.
Player housing.
So
I
good.
wish a big MMO did that again, and to such an extent, like player towns. And
No.
stuff.
Yeah.
Arcade is like trying to do it, but from
No.
my roommate's point of view, and I just see him sit there and play for like God knows how many hours in the day, like it still doesn't look like it lives up to it.
Right.
Aw.
You're like, there still needs to be a little step up there before.
Super Avoidance says, I love Galaxies, but it was such a grind. Yeah, it was. It was like some crazy amount of effort and time it took to become a Jedi. And then if you died, you lost it. Like, it's
Oh
pretty
my
cool.
gosh! So it was like
Pretty
real
sure,
life,
yeah, yeah.
like the real Jedi's
I'm
out
sure
there
they'll
in
correct
space
me.
experience that same thing. So it brought it to some realness, basically. You can't just die and reanimate. That doesn't happen.
Yeah.
So I want to know for sure, like for you, having been so young, starting in the industry, what's like how would you describe your experience? Like, has it been perfect? Has it been just like a trajectory that's no bumps in the road or anything? Did you encounter anything that you were kind of surprised by, or?
I mean, I like to keep everything at like a positive attitude and everything, but I mean,
You're really good at that.
Of course there's been
Yeah.
like bumps in the road and stuff.
Right.
Of course there's been difficult challenges to try to overcome. But I mean, I think one of the great things about my kind of come up experience is that because I was so focused on like, I just need to find any way into the industry as
Yeah.
possible.
Yeah.
I was doing volunteer work. I was doing social media work. I was doing
Right.
like, you know, ticketing
Just
and
anything
stuff.
to get that experience.
Yeah.
And to know all facets as well. So it's like you end up in this industry. I don't know if you've experienced this, but you wear many hats. You know, you're like kind of a one-man show in a lot of gigs and a lot of the time. So I feel like you did the smart thing in that you were like learning all the facets of this industry in a lot of ways and gaining the experience and also connections through that.
Yeah, so for me, all the bumps in the road just became like obstacles and new challenges for me to try to overcome. And then that's eventually how I started doing like on-camera stuff.
Yeah.
I was originally just working social media, community management, and like logistics stuff.
Okay. Did you like doing that work?
I was trying everything out.
Right.
So it was like, do I like doing the logistics and stuff? It's like, well, I failed math. So I can't do like
The math
budgeting.
part.
Yeah, that's
That's a little challenging. Yeah.
But in terms of like all the creative pieces, like I was really good at that. But you know, working in such like a small group of people, all my friends were still in college or just graduated, and we were doing like these large productions in Vegas. Like we'd drive all the way to Vegas on weekends.
It's
and
crazy
stuff.
what esports does.
Yeah.
And not only has it grown so much, but like even at the start, they would take it to that level, like right from the start. So that's amazing you got to experience that.
Yeah. So it was just like learning a bunch of different things.
And would you say that that was always a part of your personality? Like when you were in school, were you that kind of like the creative mind versus the, you know, intellectual, like mathematician mind?
Oh God, I hated high school. In high school, I was a sad person. I was just kind of like one of the, it's like depressed nerd.
Yeah,
I
that
think.
makes sense.
Yeah.
What you're looking for is emo.
I'm a little
It's-
emo.
no,
Is not a big word for that.
quite
Not
there.
emo, yeah.
Not quite emo because it was like, you still see the emo kids and you're like, okay, but you're still a little scene.
And
so
you're
you're
still
Yeah.
cool. You still have a cool edge.
You were genuinely depressed.
I was genuinely depressed. I'm like, until I got my dog, Thresh,
Ah.
who is
You
the
named him
number
Thresh?
That's a really good
That's
name.
awesome. It's a League of Legends character.
because he's my #1 support.
Oh my god, I love it and
That's
hate
too
it.
much. I wish we
love
brought
it.
a photo of Thresh now.
Oh my god.
I bet he topples
I'll
Baby
figure out
Yoda.
how to do it. But
Yeah, bring it up. Bring it up on your phone.
okay, I'll pull him.
You can.
I'll pull him up. I love him.
Yeah.
My #1 support is Braum. That's my
Braum.
dude. I love Braum so much. If we get a pet, I'm gonna name him Braum.
Oh,
Okay, yeah.
That's so
well, we're
cute.
gonna get 2 pets, right? So I get to name one.
Yeah,
Okay,
sure.
just checking. I actually don't know what I would name my pet. I haven't even had thought of.
May I?
Oh my God, Baby
Alright.
Yoda.
Baby Yoda.
Just kidding.
Come
I'm on
here,
a
Baby
Baby
Yoda.
Yoda kick this week. Just bear with me.
All right,
Photo time.
Can you zoom into this? Can
I
you
don't know
see?
if we can, but look, we can definitely see
Oh,
it
there you
in
go.
the shot. So there's
Oh.
Him
There's
standing
Thresh.
next to my dad's slipper that he chewed up.
That's
I love
perfect.
that.
That's
He's a
cute
good
dog.
boy.
Aw.
I love him.
Did you get him as a puppy?
I got him as a puppy.
Aw.
And like,
So he helped you through high school.
oh yeah, it was because it was bad. I'm like, oh God,
Was it-
what do I live for?
Yeah. So
Dog.
What was yeah, puppy, right? Like that.
Yeah.
And it's also that's therapeutically proven to be something that really helps you.
He's my buddy.
Yeah.
He helped me.
So then, was this something like you felt like an outcast? Like I definitely had that experience in high school. I was definitely not part of the cool crowd. I was the one who was like ignored. I was part of the group of like basically misfits. You know,
Yeah.
was that your experience?
Basically, and I mean, rightfully so. You always look back and you're like, wow, high school people are mean. And then I'm like, man, I was pretty weird though.
Yeah.
I'm like the one, I'm talking about anime, I'm talking about video games, and I'm talking about my husbandos and waifus. I'm like, bullies were probably a little justified.
Maybe I shouldn't have made myself such a target.
Right, yeah. You're like,
Yeah.
maybe this is on me. Like, maybe
Yeah.
I should tone it down a bit.
Yeah, no, but I mean, like, one of the great things about that is I feel like that molded my personality in a way that almost set me up for
Yes.
any public-facing or on-camera stuff, because I'm
Totally.
like, all right, say what you want about me, but you're never going to be as mean as, like, my bullies in high school.
Yeah.
I'm like, come at me.
Yeah.
Let me see what you got.
So you can handle the internet now.
Oh,
And
totally.
you're totally that person, because I always say how hilarious you are. Like, that's the go-to thing I say to everybody when I'm talking about you. And I feel like that is, it's a cool thing to be able to have the sense of humor, to be able to combat a lot of the negativity on internet.
Oh, yeah.
And so you've nailed that tone perfectly. Like, you're kind of a meme incarnate. Like, you're so good at
A
doing.
meme and your meme game is so strong.
Her meme
on
game is
Twitter.
strong.
Yeah,
And you guys
it's
should definitely
really good.
follow her on social because
Yeah.
there's a few hits there that you landed on some really funny stuff.
I'm very
What's your favorite
happy.
meme that you've done?
The favorite one that I've done.
I can almost like
can
picture
tell
in
you
my
my
head which
favorite.
one is my favorite.
Yours.
Which-
The Naruto run.
Yeah. The Naruto run was so
the mirror.
good.
Oh gosh, the
was really good.
contracts.
Yeah.
Oh, little contracts. So he's so wonderful. He was the jungler for Golden Guardians. I don't know where he's going now, but he is a huge weeb, and he was the first weeb that I kind of met within the LCS scene. So I'm like, buddy, I have to think of something to do with.
We're
So
making
good.
something.
Yeah.
We're doing content.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
when I saw it was a TikTok. Oh gosh. So when I saw the TikTok of the Naruto run, I'm like, that's it. We're pulling him in.
We're doing it.
We're doing it. And it was so great.
Yeah.
That was really good.
That's another thing I wanted to mention was like your social media, just dominating social media right now. Like you have such a strong, dedicated fan base, and like what is that like now? Having come from like high school, being miserable, and how having this like supportive community backing you.
It's crazy.
What's it been like?
It's crazy. The one thing, even in high school, was I still found that a lot of people liked my Facebook posts that I would just write. I would
Right.
write some random stuff, and people would still think that it was pretty funny. But yeah, I mean, on Twitter, I just started tweeting things that either like I encountered in my daily life or a meme that
Like
I
being
thought
very
was
honest.
funny. Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of my stuff is pretty
No, this
authentic.
is me.
I know.
I'm not
Oh, cool.
signaling to you. I'm adjusting this of myself. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Every time I do it,
I'm
you
like
keep
this.
mirroring. I'm like, that's not what I'm saying. That's really funny.
I'm like, I gotta make sure. But yeah, so A lot of like the tweets that I think of, it's literally like on the spot. Or what I tell people a lot, because I get this question a lot of just like, where do you get all your ideas? Or Ovilee, like, just how do you prepare for everything? And I'm like, I literally just watch hour-long compilations of old Vines.
Right, I love Vines.
In bed, I'm like...
Rip Vines.
You know what's my favorite?
Vines.
Look at all those chickens.
Chickens.
That one's
Oh,
my
such a
absolute
good
favorite.
one.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I tried to get that one. I tried to do a joke of that one where I wanted like Double Lift's face, and then I wanted like Fun Plus Phoenix, and it's just like, look at all those chickens.
So good.
But we didn't make it that far, so.
Oh
Maybe.
yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh, yeah,
So it
yeah.
wouldn't have-
Fun
yeah.
Plus Phoenix, they were terrifying. They were really scary. I like how Johnny Digital was like, Naomi was head cheerleader in high school, which is so far.
So far.
Yeah.
Also, no cheerleaders in Canada. Actually,
Yeah.
they're very rare.
Yeah.
So definitely not in Quebec. That's not a thing. But I think Toronto had like some cheerleading squads or something, but not a thing, guys. Like, and I went to the
Naomi was
tiniest
such a
school.
little emo kid. And,
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
He's seen photos of me in high
Oh,
school,
yeah.
and
Oh,
it's,
yeah.
it's bad.
I would have been into you, but it was just like,
Thanks.
you, I would have, it was a little,
I didn't do anything cool. Like I
little
didn't
skater Kyle.
skateboard. Yeah, you were skater Kyle. I was totally in the skater dudes. Like that was the thing. But I feel like that was not me. You know, like I couldn't compete with like other girls who were skaters and all that. But I went to such a tiny school, so like that's part of the reason it was really hard, because I went from kindergarten to high school, and I knew all the same people because it was just all in one building. So literally everyone knew my life story, you know, like all my hiccups, I never got a fresh start, you know, like, so it was really hard to combat like people who knew me like pretty much through my class stayed the same primarily through kindergarten to high school. So all the teachers knew me. So there was no coming back from like any mishaps. Or
look at you now.
Look at me now,
Hey,
right?
Look at us.
Yeah.
Who would have thought?
There we go.
Yeah.
You didn't pick it up.
I missed it. I freaking
That was
missed
your
it. We've been
opportunity.
practicing nonstop. Our freaking Paul Rudd meme.
Yeah.
Thieves
Back and forth.
and Meteos pulled
Oh,
off
they
the
nailed it.
best. It
Yeah.
was so good.
They used that on one of their social with
I didn't
that.
see it.
Yeah,
You'll
that
have to
was
show
really
me.
good, yeah.
Damn, all these conversation topics. I wish we had like something to pull from. Like we could be like, hey,
Yeah.
we got. But that's really something that I learned in high school was like sometimes you get that fresh start, sometimes you don't, but you learn, and you're also afraid because you're like, you've been burned, right? You like, you tried to make friends with these people and didn't work out. And then you're kind of left like, oh, well, now I'm just afraid to like make friends because I don't know if it's going to work out. But yeah, so having come from that, it must feel really great to be like where you are right now.
Yeah, it's so cool because I never in my wildest dreams would I even have like come close to imagining where I am now.
Yeah.
I remember being like in high school and seeing Shocks and just being like, I want to be
She's
literally NA Shocks.
I haven't met her yet.
You need to meet her.
Have you met her?
Yeah.
Oh my God,
I
she's
love
the best.
She's amazing.
Yeah, I follow her social medias and I think she's great.
Yeah.
Social medias. Look at me, old person, just saying social medias.
I follow her
All
on
the
social.
socials.
The
She
SMSs.
tweeted. Yeah.
Yeah. No, but she's a great person to look up to. So was there a lot of that when you were starting out? Like, were you like trying to look up, how do I do this? Or did you just kind of intuitively have this? Are you just like naturally talented?
No, God, no. But I mean, I told you this like the first time I met you. I'm like, oh my gosh, I used to watch all your stuff when I was
You
younger.
did say that on a call we had.
No,
Oh,
it was
man.
wasn't it in person at that
It was
Red
at the
Bull
Red
event?
Bull.
Oh, I
thing.
wasn't
Oh
the Red
God,
Bull
that's
thing,
a
but
funny
yeah.
story. Yeah, I tell
Yeah.
the story. There was Naomi's like, hey, come with me. I got invited to this Red Bull event. They said I can bring a +1. I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll show up. It's just like a women in gaming event. I'm like,
Yup.
hey,
I remember that.
I'm here too.
Oh my
I
gosh.
get, and everyone was really nice. I was like, I guess I'll hang out. I
To
guess.
be fair, they said you could bring a +1, and they didn't mention gender.
Yeah.
So I just went with it.
That was really
All right.
fun. But
No,
it was
I'm
a fun
s-
event.
It was
fun.
really
It was
good.
a good event. Shout out to Red Bull.
Red Bull, yeah, coming in
Sponsor us.
clutch with that. So now you're working for the Riot Games. What is that like?
It's cool. So I mainly do just like I'm freelance with them,
Yeah.
kind of like some of the other talent. So I really only go in during those show days.
That's nice.
Yeah,
Do you
it
do
is.
anything else on your spare time besides, I guess you game? But
Yeah.
like, do you have other jobs or other things you do on the side?
Yeah, I'm doing a weekly show with PlayStation, or bi-weekly, soon to be weekly show
What's
with
it called?
PlayStation.
I think I.
It's Competition Center.
Oh, Competition Center. Okay, I didn't see that one. So tell me about it.
So we basically go over all of the esports news. It's more focused around console stuff. and it's pretty fun. It's really cool to see a huge name like PlayStation getting into and dedicating more resources to the esports scene. Because I know beforehand when like esports was getting bigger, League of Legends was coming up, Dota, CS:GO, everyone was like, let's see how long these kids last.
It's gonna fail. It's gonna fail. Real
that's
miserable.
That's a fad. Yeah. Seriously.
Now we have like these multi-million-dollar
forget
player
it.
contracts. Like, let's go, Hootie!
It's taking
Prize
over the world.
pools, prize pools in
crazy.
the millions and the 7-8 figures. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean that's why you have a job. Like it's all why we're here. You know, we're trying to make content, and I think people just love this. This is like the future. It's a young generation, and they're going to grow up loving this just as much as people grow up loving baseball. And
I'm excited to see what the next big esport is, like true esport, because I don't think Fortnite is quite where it needs to be in terms of being an esport. I think observing Fortnite's really hard, but like the next, like obviously League of Legends and whatever that looks like, I'm really excited for it. I hope it's an RTS. I really hope we get an RTS returning.
Yeah.
But
Do you think kids nowadays have the attention span for an RTS to come back?
I think
very interesting point.
I think the micro play that is in an RTS is super. I mean, that's what makes League of Legends really fascinating. But it would have to be fast paced. I agree. It would have to be like go. But who knows? I'm just excited to see what it will be.
Is that something you've thought about yourself? Like looking at how because you started pretty young and everything. So how long have you been in the industry now? Like,
I mean, like, I don't know when you draw the professional line because technically I was doing stuff with like a local esports organization. I use those quotes loosely when I was in high school, and I was like 15, 16 years old. Did stuff with like the collegiate scene, High School Star League, with Blizzard a little bit, but it wasn't until like maybe working with Travis in like 2017 where I feel, okay, does this count yet?
Broken.
Does this count?
Is this my career? Like, Okay, so I just was wondering because now that you've seen a bit of the growth of esports, like from an early standpoint to now, do you notice any trends or anything that's like really, I don't know, something that you can predict for the future? Like maybe, like you said, children's attention span is a huge factor, like in what ends up being successful. But are there any other things that you've noticed that might be happening in the future, like for like any premonitions? I guess is what I'm getting at.
I feel like I can kind of cheat and then just watch what my 8-year-old cousin is doing and what he's following.
Yes. Yeah.
Because
Kyle has a nephew, 11 years old. So, yeah.
Okay. See, so we could just look at them and be like, all right, fellow kids.
What are they into?
What are you doing?
Yeah.
Fortnite, Roblox.
How can we make money off knowing this inside intel?
I think one of the most amazing things right now, though, like looking at my 8-year-old cousin, his cousins, and everyone there are now like more girls who are playing more than just Minecraft. They're getting into Fortnite. They're trying out all the different games that they're seeing.
Yeah.
They're playing mobile games on iPad. 'Cause why do all kids get to have iPads?
Yeah.
I had a
That
Game
is a
Boy
good
Color.
question.
Yeah.
That's not fair.
Yeah.
I mean, I barely had a computer growing up, so I get the struggle. Yeah.
But
now they have all that technology.
Yeah, so
easily available.
Yeah, all of these little girls are now playing more
Yeah.
games, and I'm like, that's sick, because when I was the one doing it, everyone's like, what are you doing? And so now we can finally like push that. I hate the topic of like, why aren't girls and professionals in games? And I'm like, just go away.
But it's going to evolve naturally if we're seeing it
Yeah.
already at the onset. Like if they're 8 years old playing tablet games, like that's going to improve. They're going to keep doing that. You know, that's not going away.
Because you're getting the mechanics and the patterns early.
Our first, the Hearthstone winner, that was the lady that
Lion.
won. Yeah.
That was amazing.
Yeah.
So we're seeing it. I mean, we're seeing it slowly but surely. Like it's once they get that age, like once probably they're done high school and all that, we're gonna see tons of women. I feel like. So you're thinking like esports down the road will be teams of like pretty equally balanced male to female ratios, perhaps maybe in the future.
I'm no
That's the
fortune
hope.
teller. I think that's just like the general hope.
Yeah. All right. Well, I wanted to talk about your approach to making content a little bit.
Oh, sure.
You know, going in as a host, a lot of the time I feel, I don't know if you've experienced this, but like you start a project and you're the host. Like there's a lot of ownership on you to like kind of come up with what that content ends up being. Like I'm sure you do a lot of improv and stuff like that. Is there anything that you go in like with a mindset of before you start any sort of those projects?
So, I mean, the biggest project that I've kind of done with that aspect, I actually started this year, and that was the Liquid update.
I have that in my notes because I did my research. But yeah, tell me about that.
So the
That's
Liquid
really cool.
update was basically a show that I pitched to Team Liquid. Luckily, so I did their social media work for a little bit.
So you know the team inside and out. And all that
Yeah.
stuff.
So everyone was really sweet.
Yeah.
And I'm like, listen, I think that this could be a great opportunity. You're the only North American team that's, going to MSI, which is the mid-season invitational for League of Legends. All the top #1 teams from each region come in, clash, see who's the best.
Yeah.
And so Liquid was being sent for their second time, and they kind of had like an updated roster. And I'm like, you guys, this is going to be fun. We could do content around the team, follow what they're going to be doing,
Right.
dumb it down a little bit so it's not analytical, because everyone's making analytical content.
Which
That's
is
not fun.
Not fun,
No.
but I get the appeal of it. But yeah, it's a not only is it really sometimes hard to follow if you're not like super analytical in that way, but I feel like the entertaining aspect kind of gets forgotten about.
Yeah, that and it's alienating to certain viewers.
Exactly.
So it's like, man,
So to bring people in,
Yeah.
let's just make it fun and like chatty, just like the show.
Yes. So that's something that we put
Yeah.
together, and I'm like, we can have guests, we can have skits, we can have
love
just
it.
like comedy pieces.
So you're
and-
actually taking on a producer role at that point.
Yeah.
Which is amazing.
Yeah,
High
it's really
five,
cool.
you've reached
Yeah,
that level
woo!
now. You're not just a host, you're a producer.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
So it was really cool. Luckily, like One Up Studios with Team Liquid are absolutely fantastic. Where I would I'd write a script for them, and I'm like, can we do this? And they're like, yes. And they made all my wildest dreams come true. Like the
Amazing.
lightsaber fight, the
That must have been such a I'm stoked moment. Like,
yeah.
like, did you freak out? Were you like, oh my god, this is happening? I mean, I would totally be like that.
Yeah,
That is so. It's kind of when I got the show, same thing. Like I was like, I get to make and like decide and do all these things. Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah, I couldn't even believe or imagine that they could make the things that I asked them like a
Right.
reality.
Well, because now you have support, the resources. Obviously, they're loaded on that stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah. Cool. And was that like is Liquid your go-to team now, or do you have other teams that you're rooting for secretly?
They're not
Because you can talk about that here, because it's about you, and we're not like under pressure to be aligned with any sort of team. So I'd love to know you're honest.
So like honestly, I'm a League of Legends fan first.
Okay.
So when it comes to pledging allegiance to a team or something, it actually becomes very difficult during the off season because
Which is now. by
which
the
is
way.
right now.
Yeah.
Because let's say you're a Demonte fan and he was playing on Clutch Gaming, now Dignitas, and then Dignitas goes, okay, by the way, we're releasing Demonte. Then you're suddenly like, what?
Right.
And then you have to figure out, okay, well, now where does my allegiance lie? So, I mean, the same thing that I tell all the players. I'm like, I want all of you guys to be successful. I want to see all of you guys win worlds. That's not going to happen, but, just that's my
Yeah.
hope for you guys.
Yeah.
But teams that I am closest with or working with, Team Liquid have the most resources, and they've always said yes to a lot of my projects.
Yeah.
So I'm like, sweet, I'll give it all to you.
Yeah.
But I mean, I also have a great relationship with teams like Cloud9, CLG, Golden Guardians. We did some content together.
Yeah.
And then I'll be working with G2 again. They sent me to Worlds for finals since they made it that far, which
Is
was
that
really
crazy?
cool.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
And so you got to go there. What was that experience like?
Oh, it was fun and then sad.
Oh.
Mainly because I went there first with Team Liquid, but unfortunately they got knocked out in the first group.
Right.
But G2 made it all the way to finals, star-studded roster. There was a lot of faith behind G2 going into that game, but Fun plus Phoenix was just way too freaking strong with Doinby.
Yeah.
So they got stomped 3-0, but it was still really cool to like run through the audience, everyone in France or
Yeah.
Paris just holding up the flag and just seeing all the EU fans and all the international fans in general, just like, let's go!
Let's
and
do
just hype.
Oh my god, I love that. Do you get to? I'm sorry, I'm oh my godding a lot tonight. I just noticed. Please don't mind me, guys. We're here for Ovilee. But so, what has the experience been like for you traveling? And so, because I don't know if people realize, but it's kind of like the jet setter, like idealized fancy life, right? I mean, that's the perception. Like people get to see us. We're here one week, we're in Las Vegas next. It's like this very, I don't know. I think there's still an appeal to people seeing us do something like that and be like, oh my God, like that's the dream. Get to play, like be in the a game, like be a part of this gaming experience and the gaming world, like everybody's just dying to do that. So for you, is there any part of you that's like, that's like boosting my ego a little bit? I feel amazing right now. Like,
I don't know about that. I know that a lot of people are like, wow, you have the coolest job ever. And it's like, oh, I wish I could do that. And I'm like, you can do that.
You
just
can.
like try to make content, try to do it. Like everyone asks, how do I get to where you are right now? Or how do I do what you're doing? I'm like, make a reel, start casting, start interviewing, reach out to people, start small.
make stuff happen, essentially.
Make things, yeah. Because nothing's going to happen until you put yourself out there. It doesn't
It's
matter
true.
if your first thing sucks.
So where did you develop that confidence, I guess, to be able to do that?
Oh, gosh.
A lot of that, like, that's the hindering point. Like, I feel like a lot of people are just, like, sitting in their homes. At least for me, in my experience, like, sometimes when I'm at home and I'm not doing anything, I'm like, I feel guilty or feel bad, and I'm like, I should be doing something. Like, this is part of my job. This is how I got here. I need to keep doing it. So I guess, yeah, what would be your approach to that?
For me, I was just kind of born without a filter or without the feeling of shame. So
That is an amazing gift.
It's great. It's great.
What is the secret sauce for making that happen?
I have no idea. My mom was probably
It
smoking
took me a couple
something or
years to develop that, actually, because I feel like, yeah, I was very green at the start. So if you look back at my old daily fixes, I'm like super green. And I had a struggle just not being nervous in front of camera. And it took me like 3 good years to really get that out of my system. But it takes a while, and it's a lot of practice. But for you, it's just like, you don't have that element. Do you think it's like part of your parents' like approach to parenting, or like what was maybe it's something you told yourself at a young age that you would never like get into your like make that get to your head, you know?
I wish I had a cool story like that. Like, oh, well, when I was younger, this happened.
It's hard to tell, too.
No, I think it was mainly, I went to a small school, kind of similar, where it's like, from preschool to 8th grade, everyone knew each other.
Yeah.
So I was always doing like student council stuff. I was running events. We had bake sales. I would stand up on like the little school auditorium thing, and I would just scream, who wants to buy cookies? And then everyone's like, Ovilee selling cookies. And they just go buy the cookies because it's like, cool, there's the weird girl who's yelling in the middle of everyone.
Yeah.
So I feel like that just kind of transitioned. Because like I said, like when I was doing social media stuff, I was doing production work. There was just the spot of, okay, we need someone to go stand on stage and read raffle numbers and then interview someone.
And you're like, I know how to do that. I did a bake sale and I yelled in front of a bunch of people.
Exactly.
It's easy.
Yeah, so I mean, that was basically it. It was just like, okay, well, this chick is kind of crazy, so maybe.
So probably you were just born without a filter. I
Yep.
guess is my guess. But you didn't have that fear of being in front of people, probably because you were really comfortable in that small school. People knew you and you trusted them, and so that like kind of supported you and made you maybe, I don't know, I'm like basing this
it
off
works.
just what you told me, and I'm by no
works.
means like a therapist or anything, but that's really cool. Because that was something that I really struggled with at the start, actually.
Aw.
So I feel like it's a unique thing to have, and you've just been taking, you've been on this rocket ship trajectory, so it makes sense.
I will
why
say,
that's happening.
yeah, I will say, my first year of LCS, you could tell that I was very like a little bit rigid.
Shaky?
Where
Yeah.
all my questions were like, so.
You
Double
wanted to get it
lift,
right.
you're now doing this, and pull like all this random amount of history that you don't need to know or use in an interview, but you feel like you need to use it so people don't think that you're just like a chick standing there with a microphone.
Right.
So I was just like, blah, 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 blah.
So that's
What
like
did you think of the game?
Yeah, yeah. and he's like, what did you do? Like, what was the question? Yeah, no, I get that, because it's also like it's pressure, right? You want to do a good job, and I guess it was like your first. You said it was like your first.
It was
time.
basically my first time like on camera to that many people, because when I did high school or college
So you did get a bit of
stuff,
stage fright.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There was
okay.
only like 100
Totally
people
normal,
watching.
though.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you kind of get into that space and you're like, oh, these people expect me to be perfect right off the gate.
Yeah.
There's nothing definitely in the hosting space at least, you don't always have rehearsals. Like that's very, very limited to like maybe this show. Yeah, like people don't actually, like it's very rare to have a rehearsal for any of these types of things. So they kind of expect you to be perfect from the get-go, and that just puts added pressure because you're like, oh my God, like are they gonna think I'm terrible? Like and I've totally been there before.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you seem to handle it like a pro because you got over it after.
Oh, yeah,
Right?
'cause-
Was it that same day you were like, I'm good now?
It was honestly like this year where a lot of things clicked for me, where it's okay. I can kind of lean a little bit more on my personality. I don't need everything to be uptight, because I feel like one of the things that people like and enjoy about my interviews is the fact that I have the relationship with the players. So I feel comfortable asking, like, why did you suck in that last game? And then just asking, like, you missed every single skill shot. And then they feel comfortable enough with me to go, like,
Yeah. So do you take that, like, I guess it's like bluntness, which I know, like, Shox is really good at, and a couple other people, but you're, like, one of the two, like, people who really have nailed that. I think that's really important because it's honesty.
Yeah.
It's something that Kyle has taught me a lot, which Kyle just came back to the seat, everybody. Welcome back,
Sorry,
Kyle.
we haven't figured out quite where I'm going to hang out while this discussion
This is great. You can just sit.
I'm
Why
in
don't
the
you just
Phantom
sit down?
Zone camera. So
Phantom
sorry.
Zone camera is wonderful.
for
It's
it.
my favorite thing that we've added to the show, actually.
But it's this one right above you.
You're great. I know. Yeah.
I'm like,
Where is it? Yeah,
It's a secret camera. Nobody knows.
Yeah. Well, what did I teach you?
Oh, just how to be blunt and how honesty kind of always wins the day. You know, regardless, especially in hosting. Like, I feel like that's an important thing for any host to learn and to develop that skill.
Yeah, when you're honest and like very direct about stuff, you never have to remember what you said because you're like, well, how do I feel about it? Oh,
Well,
that's
you're not
what I
pretending.
said. You know what I mean?
You're not
Like,
pretending. You're just saying your honest feelings and thoughts
And
about it.
being honest doesn't mean being a jerk because there's so
No,
many people who are
by
like,
no
I'm
means.
just honest. It's like, no, you're an a-hole.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that's there's two different things. But when you're very transparent about your thoughts and very upfront about it, you never have to remember what you said or second guess how you feel, or people don't have to try and guess what you're thinking because like, this is where I'm at.
True.
Anyway, hello,
and
I'm back.
has it ever gotten you into trouble being honest? I mean, I'm sure it has for Kyle.
Oh, all the time.
A couple times.
All the time.
But for you, anytime?
There was one interview, and this was like kind of in the first couple of months of me working, where I asked a player just one question a step too far because it was the first thing that came up into my head where I'm like, I was asking about kind of like team structure because the team wasn't doing too well. And I was like, okay, what would you change? And then he's like, oh, well, I would probably do this. And he didn't give me an answer. So I'm like, no, but what would you change? And I'm like, oh, wait, he just doesn't want to answer this question.
Like, instead of reading that was,
Yeah, so that was like the first time where I was like, whoops.
Not everything goes, I guess.
But the other times, more recently, I've been more comfortable with like kind of the honesty and then almost playing the role of like a jerk.
Oh, really?
So when it comes to like the fun streams that we do, like we did a TFT stream with Riot and Red Bull. And it was like a group of 8 people sitting in a circle, mostly influencers and streamers. And so my job was to go around and just, get sound bits and stuff. So I would just go up next to Skara and I'd be like, dude, you suck. And then just hand him the mic or something like that. And we were able to riff off of that. And that was fun. So it was like fun jerk.
Fun jerking.
Yeah,
around.
it's like playful funness is totally fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I think that's something that you nail perfectly. It's something
Oh,
you nail
you're
perfectly.
just
My
nailing it.
Canadianism just does not let me be any sort of jerk. But maybe one of these days I'll learn to be a
Naomi
jerk.
suffers from Canadianism.
Canadianism.
Call your doctor.
It's infectious. Be careful.
Well, if she was in Canada, she'd have free healthcare.
Right.
Segue. I did a
That's
good.
how that works. It was a
did
good
it good.
segue. Someone
Anyway.
clip that out.
Yeah.
Is there anything in this space, in esports in particular, that you would like to see happen? Whether that's positive or something that you'd like to change that's not really working, or is there anything like that that stood out to you? Maybe it's too deep a question, I don't know.
No, I mean, just for what I've been working on right now, I feel like when I came into this space, a lot of people liked the fact that I did things a little bit differently in terms of bringing out a little bit more fun and
Make it more loose.
Yeah, because-
less, like rigid, like you said.
yeah, because I feel like I was part of like the second wave of esports people to come in. First wave being like Riv, Kobe, Freak, and everyone who's been a staple there. And at that time, it felt like people had to prove that esports could be professional. So that's why
True.
everyone's in suits. That's why
Really good
everyone's
point.
like trying to say like, please take us seriously. This is very important.
Yeah, not to mess up on the sponsored part of the show.
Yeah, sponsored by XYZ.
Right.
So then when I came in, I was seeing like, everything was professional and that's really cool. So everything looks polished. But
Good on that. We know we
Yeah.
can hit that
Yeah.
note. Yeah.
But then I was also coming from the community where I did like stupid videos. I did stupid songs and dances and stuff, which
Well, you were
no
like
one
the-
Google. But
No, everyone go Google.
No.
Are you kidding
Google
me?
Trends spikes.
Spikes
Yeah.
right all of a sudden after the show. That's
but
funny.
so from there, I was coming from the community. I'm saying like, let's do fun content.
Yeah.
Let's do
Well,
stuff
'cause
that
you're a
really
fan
showcases the
first.
players. Yeah, of course.
So I
I'm a
mean,
fan
that's
first.
a huge thing to like. That's so valuable to just have somebody come on who's like who knows the space, loves the players, loves the game itself, and like can really bring a whole other perspective. And like, this is what I'd actually really like to see happen, and to bring that to life. You
Yeah.
did so well.
So that's I guess like the change that I want to see in the same, and the change that I'm trying to push
A
forward.
little bit more fun.
I would agree with you there. Like this whole like chip on your shoulder that's going on with esports about we're professional, take us seriously. It's like no, it's like
Yeah.
you're already like
You've
behave.
established yourself.
I feel like esports needs to behave like they belong now, like because
Yeah.
there's a lot of this like take us seriously. We're like real sports, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
But it shouldn't be that way. I think esports needs to
It's
just
evolved
lean.
past that.
Well, they just need to lean into what they are. It's like we're not real sports.
Right.
We're a whole different thing, but we're awesome and people really love us and we got a huge fandom and advertisers love us. Like lean into that. There's too much
Yeah.
of this. Take us seriously. We're baseball. We're golf. We're like blah blah
I
blah.
agree.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a lot like any individual's like personal trajectory in their career. They start off and it's like you want to be taken seriously, you know, you want to do the job right, and then once you get a bit more comfortable, you can play around, and that's where the real beauty and magic happens. I feel like,
Yeah.
and that's where esports is at right now.
Yeah.
They just need to take that leap, and you're helping them
Yeah,
with
I'm
your
like,
awesome content.
Come on. Yeah. Alienware, freaking amazing. They're not paying me to say this right now, but just like
Good to know.
as a company and as like a sponsor and partner, like they jumped in with Team Liquid right off the bat, and then did amazing content with them, and then they jumped right into the LCS.
Yeah.
So I have my fingers crossed. I'm like, okay, you approved the Liquid update. Now just approve more content, support us. But I think that they're already taking a huge step and saying like, okay, let's give the green light to fun content and see where that takes us.
I think what's happening is you're getting a lot of people moving up the ranks to these decision maker roles who really get esports.
Yeah.
Because as content creators, as soon as you have to like explain the joke and explain what's happening,
ruins it.
it's done. It's
Yeah.
over. And then a lot of these situations you end up in these big corporations designing by committee, and then that's not art. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? But when people just get it, they get it. They're like, yeah, go do your thing. Here's some money, make it happen, and it really works out.
It does. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there anything in social media for you that's been like? I guess we've already established that you handle negativity pretty well. Is there anything that you see like happening with social media that's going to be for you like, okay, now we finally like hit the note on what social media means to everybody? Because right now it's kind of like in a weird state where there's a lot of negativity. There's a lot of like calling out people's mistakes and like that whole trend that's been happening this year. And can you maybe like speak to that and how that's affected you, maybe personally from a personal perspective,
Yeah.
anecdotally? Did I just say that weird? Anecdotally.
Yeah.
I can't say it. Wait, say it.
Anecdotally.
Anecdotally. Why am I
Makes
messing that
sense
up?
to
My
me.
brain is like, toot, toot, toot,
So
like
essentially-
the gears aren't turning.
Essentially, the question was.
Yes. Basically like social media. Like
Yeah.
where do you think
Did I do good, Colin?
the change needs to happen?
Perfect.
And do you think it'll always stay the same as where it's at right now?
I think that's the internet. I
Right.
don't think that anything's really going to change too much. I mean, like,
We've
Twitter,
hit peak internet, like like nothing. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Continue your thought.
I mean, I think we've just reached a point where, like, because accounts are attached to names and stuff, people are held more accountable.
Yes.
So, I mean, if you're watching a stream on Facebook Live now, your Facebook is attached to it.
Yeah.
So if you say, hey, I think you should jump off a bridge and die, someone can click on your Facebook account, say, oh, cool, you work at so-and-so, take a screenshot of it, send it to your place of
To your
work.
boss,
Yeah, and
to
then
his
say,
boss.
hey, just want you to know this is what your employees are doing right now.
Yeah.
And that's hilarious.
Yeah.
I think that's funny because it's kind of like, okay, well, maybe don't tell people to go kill
So it's a
themselves.
bit like it's teaching people morals and how not to be.
Yeah, I mean, I like to do everything with a bit of humor. So when G2 ended up losing, I had a lot of people going like, you're the reason G2 lost, you cursed everyone, I hope you die, and like all of these crazy messages. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, this is hilarious.
Yeah.
So I took a couple screenshots and then I just posted it like on Twitter. I'm like, y'all are the best, keep it coming type thing. And everyone's like popping off. They're like, this is actually hilarious because the best way for you to handle negativity is just laugh at it.
Oh yeah,
Because
totally.
It's funny. It's
Make fun of
or
it.
turn a mirror on it.
Turn a mirror on it, yeah. I just did that today with a comment on Instagram,
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah.
Someone was like, this is worst pick or something, and I was like, well, clearly judging by your profile pic, you're the expert.
Yeah, roast.
I mean, I just had to say it because I'm so proud of it. It's like
Yeah.
got 66 likes, no big deal. So that's cool. Yeah, I do feel like that's something that we can lean into more on social media, and hopefully that just like, I don't know, I hope people learn from not being, like, learn not to be jerks, essentially, like real jerks.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about the like comedic jerk edge,
Yeah.
like the one we were talking about, but
Yeah.
future goals.
Oh,
Anything that, because now you've like, you're in the industry, you have an established career, you've got a cool agency that's backing you.
Yeah.
Is there anything that's like in the to-do list or down the road that you're hoping to do?
So I'll give you an idea of why it's so difficult for me to set goals for myself. This is going to seem like a humble brag. I swear to God, it's not. It's me trying to figure out how life works.
Okay.
When I started working with Travis at Yahoo, I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I'll work with him, and then maybe in like 5 years I can get a job at Riot, like, and work my way up there. 6 months later, I was working at
Happened. Yeah, it happened. You manifested it.
Yeah. And I'm
That's
like,
kind of what happened to me.
yeah.
Yeah, I started at Game Loft in Montreal, and I was like looking at where to go next. And I'd done it for a year and a half, and I was like, oh, IGN would be really cool. That's like pie in the sky. And then they messaged me on Facebook like a month or two later, and I'm like, did someone like wiretap my apartment? Like, who knew that this was like kind of like my idea going forward? And I never thought, like, I was literally prepping to go and apply and do all this thing. And I didn't even know they had, like Jess had left the hosting position and that it was open. Anyways, but yeah, sometimes you just manifest that stuff.
Yeah.
I feel like it's when you're young too, you're just like pulling all this positive energy from the universe, and it just like, it like goes through you, and then all of a sudden you're there.
Because you're not jaded yet.
Yeah,
There's
that's right.
so many people who are jaded.
Evil stuff has not happened to you yet, and so the life is beautiful and everyone's great. And
Yeah, I did have like my first pitfall this year. Like 2019 was just a little difficult, where I got like that sense of jadedness, and I'm like,
Ooh.
But then honestly, it was with the Liquid update where I was like, wait a second, I can like write and produce stuff too.
This is the next step.
Yeah. So then in my head, there were already opportunities to look like, okay, can you just come write and produce content? I'm like, wait, but I still like being on content.
The host part.
Yeah.
Too, please. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So maybe that's like the goal in the future.
Just
where
keep
it's like,
producing and making awesome content. I mean, maybe have your you have your own show now. So I mean, yeah. I guess you're pretty much made. Like that's, they'll just keep doing that and keep being awesome. I did have a question that came up earlier that I didn't really get. I think I like diverted the discussion, but what's it like working at Riot? Because I feel like I kind of interrupted that with another question.
No, you're cool.
Yeah, we didn't really get to that.
I mean, it's cool. I mean, Riot Games League of Legends is the biggest esport event with Worlds every single year. So I mean, it's really cool. It also meant that, like we talked about, the first time I was on stream, it was to like 150,000 people.
Yeah,
It's just,
big deal.
It's not easy.
Right. How do you get past that mentally? Or are you like, oh, it's just like I'm streaming at home. No one's watching.
Right. Well, so it was actually, all right. So this was the first time that I interviewed for LCS. I was sitting in like the back room of the green room, and then I saw that the game was about to end, so I just ran to the bathroom really fast, and then I was heading towards the stage. And this was like my first weekend in the studio, and it is a maze of like all these hallways.
Yeah.
So in my ear, I hear the producer saying like, all right, where's Ovilee? Does anyone have eyes on Ovilee?
Oh, God.
And so I'm sprinting down the hallway, looking through all these doors, trying to find
You're like, oh my God, I hope
studio.
they haven't started.
Yeah. So I finally find the studio. I run in. I see Contrax is already on stage. And so I run up to him. I'm like, hi, buddy. And he's all like, why are you here? I'm like, I'm doing the interview. He's like, cool. And then they go, okay, ready and take. And I'm like, what did you think about the game? And then I was able to do the interview, and it was fine because what scared me the most wasn't the interview. It was, oh God, I'm gonna miss it.
I'm gonna be late, yeah.
Yeah.
And this is my job. I had one job.
To be there.
To be there, and then I went to the bathroom. Damn it.
Yeah.
I've definitely had moments like that where you're like, just, can I go now? I don't know if there'll be time. And yeah, and then your worst nightmare is when they call you and you're like, I'm so far away. How am I going to get there? Oh, man. What's the coolest experience you've had hosting? Like, I guess, what's the event that was like, holy cow, this has been the best experience?
Oh, gosh. I mean, with Riot, when they sent me to Worlds on my first year in Korea.
Yeah.
That was ridiculous. For me, it was, I only did like the play-in stage and then a bit of groups. So stakes were still like, a little bit low.
Yeah.
But man, I remember being in the middle of the LCK studio when it was like newly revealed and everything. All the play-in teams are walking around. So you see like Cloud9 is there because they always make their run through the play-ins. And so I had buddies there and I'm like, no bias, but you guys can do it. I believe in you.
Yeah.
And then at the same time, that was the year where the LJL, the Japanese league, with Detonation Focus Me, had gone the farthest that Japan has ever gone at Worlds. And I'm like,
and you were there. You were there for it.
Yeah.
Aw, man.
I was super excited.
That's cool.
But then, I mean, seeing the KDA and the Giants opening ceremony like in person.
That was an incredible. We have a KDA fan here in the studio.
Oh yeah?
Streaming later.
Yeah, you're gonna stream it later?
All KDA stream all the time.
Oh, that's Colin. He's the best. Shout out to Colin. He loves KDA. Are you a fan of KDA? Oh, are you a fan of music in general?
Music? I don't know what music is.
Really? I don't know. Is that the new generation? Like, people are not gonna listen to music or watch TV? Is it over?
No, I already know like half the words to the Giants song.
Really?
KDA harder because I don't speak Korean, but
But you're a huge fan of music. That's good. I love music.
What kind of fan are you? You gotta learn it.
Yeah, well, it's true.
I know, right? My dang mouth just won't make the Korean sounds.
It's not.
Practice makes perfect. I don't know. Last questions. We're coming up on 5 minutes left.
I got some. How's my mic? Wait, I'm good on the Phantom Zone camera? Sorry. I
Yeah,
sat back
do you have
down.
any questions?
Who-
I do have two final
So are you a
questions.
support main?
Oh, good question.
Yeah, I had a transition through the years. When I first started playing, I was mid and 80 carry.
Ooh.
Then I was mid 80 carry jungle. And then I took basically like almost a year or year and a half long break of League when I started college.
Oh, yeah.
Because I started my own esports club, and I was so busy
Well,
with that, I couldn't play.
Hold up.
That's
Hold
crazy.
up. You're an achiever, girl.
No,
That's crazy that you started your own club. I mean, you were also an achiever in high school, though,
Yeah.
judging by what you told me. So that's
So I
really cool.
When I find out.
Yes.
Sorry, we never got to the
Yeah, so
answer.
right now
My bad.
it's support. Reaper, the coach of Cloud9, has been trying to teach me jungle. He's given up and fled the country. So it's support.
So funny. Oh my gosh. That's good.
Bless you.
There you go.
I muted myself for that sneeze.
Got
Who
a hair.
are you maining as your support?
Oh, it's probably
Right?
Your go-to to carry yourself.
Right now, my go-to to carry, Raka, because
What?
I just run in and I'm the wee woo ambulance.
Wee
I
woo,
just
wee
heal
woo.
people.
I'm not very good. I'm silver 1 right now, but
Sick.
nice.
Nice.
I carried myself from bronze 4 with brand support.
Yeah, that's
just
how you do it.
Nuking everybody, but my boy is Braun.
Braun.
I love Braun.
Braun.
But actually, right now I'm feeling way more impactful playing mid and jungle just for the roaming capabilities. That's about it. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
I don't know.
Well,
This is just
no,
a
it's a
question
good
I wanted to
question.
know.
It's a good question.
Totally
On an
valid.
unrelated note, I need to point out that we don't have our toys on the desk today.
Yeah.
I forgot them.
We have a
usually have
colorful package
We do have
of
colorful
parrot tissues.
Kleenex,
Cups.
which I think makes up for it.
Cups?
Ish. It's very colorful.
Oh my God,
and cute.
we got 2 minutes and 20 seconds left.
2 minutes and 20 seconds. So then I guess my last question. 2 things. I can maybe do in 2 minutes. Let's see. Any advice you have to anybody? You already kind of touched on it. But is there anything that you as a kid or entering the industry you would have liked to have heard, or something that like people could have told you about and would have helped you, or anything like that? It's kind of a tough one. I really hate that question personally.
No, that's fine.
For myself.
There's 2 quotes that I like. One is from FLCL, favorite anime.
Fully
where it's,
Cooley.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's nothing can happen until you swing the bat. So succeed
Make
or
moves,
fail. Yep.
or you're not
do
moving.
it. And then the other
Gary
one,
Whitta.
which is also gaming. Like, if in life you find that you're like making more enemies or something, like, or you're finding more enemies, you're going the right way.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I I'd think the opposite because I'm like, I just want friends.
Naomi is
If I have an enemy, I'm not. I hate conflict.
conflict
I can't,
averse.
averse to conflict.
Very Canadian. of you.
Interesting though. I guess I should start making enemies then.
Well, not in that.
Well. I have learned
Naomi's
something
just
new.
gonna go out and start punching people.
Oh yeah,
I'm
just
going
like
the right
full
way.
Mortal Kombat. I hate the world. I don't know. What about something that you're working on right now that you want people to know, or something in the future you want people to know about? Where can they find you? All that good stuff.
Ovilee May on like all my social medias and on my Twitch.
Nailed
and
it.
then on Sunday, I'm going to take a plane back to Berlin, working with G2 for their Making the Squad season 2. It's going to be TFT focused. They have 7 participants who are coming in, and they're going to grand prize of $10,000 and find out who's going to be their new G2 superstar.
That's
Oh my
awesome.
God!
So it's going to be really cool.
You
I'm
sold that
excited.
so much. I'm going to be watching that.
I'm just
like
gonna
that
dance
is.
every time I say anything. Like,
Do, do,
even if it's
do,
bad
do,
news,
do,
I'm like,
do,
hey
do.
babe, I crashed the car. And
I
you're
crashed
like,
the
oh,
car."
it's great.
Not my baby.
Yeah.
That's so funny. You're awesome. You're hilarious.
You're so
great.
nice to me.
It's true. I mean, you're deserving of all that's happening to you. Like that is hands down a fact. And I really hope you'll come back on the show at
Of
some
course.
point, because we need to talk obviously once we are back in season, which we aren't right now. But yeah, thank you so much for joining us.
No, thanks for having me. I was super excited.
Yeah,
Nice to me.
thanks for waiting for a whole hour before the show started,
Yeah.
and it was your segment.
I got to watch you live in person.
Yeah, that was so funny, right? That was so good. Good stuff. I wonder if there's any audience stuff that we can cover because we're kind of out of time. KDA all the time. I love that.
More
Jolene.
than kinda.
More than kinda. We're like 15 minutes, 15 seconds over. It's fine. Mercury retrograde. That's Shaheen. It's happening right now.
2019.
20.
Mercury.
It's all
Is
been
it?
that.
Is that like astrologically proven?
It just finished.
It
just finished. It actually was like a couple days ago.
You
can't believe-
Google searched it.
I knew that. I know that for a
I
fact.
gotta
yeah.
better understand
man.
this.
Yeah, it's astrology is a whole other bog. I don't know. Somebody should study
Astrology is
astrology
out
and
of
know
this
if it's
world.
actually legit. Because I have a hard time believing any of it. Anyways,
Crystals.
all the crystals. Don't even get me started. Let's get a crystal for the office, guys. Let's just bring in that positive astrology energy. All right, Ovilee, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure having a second show. Holy cow, is it fun putting this show together. I appreciate you guys all tuning in. Thank you for watching. I will see you guys the next episode next week, Friday at 5. That's right, we'll still be there even though it's Thanksgiving weekend because we work when we're dead. We'll work, we'll die, we'll live when we'll die.
We'll sleep when we're dead. That's the word.
I don't know if I'm coming
That's
back.
the word you're looking for.
Right. I don't know if we're coming back, but stay tuned. Episode 3, we'll see you guys next week. Bye, everybody. I'm glad I missed
When
it.
we're dead.
Yeah.